Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Bernina Club and it is the month of June already. So you'll remember a couple of months ago I showed you how to do a bit of wool felting on a needle case. So I've taken that up to another level and we are doing wool felting and also couching onto a doorstop. So this is a nice long doorstop to go to stop the drafts in the winter. You can also make the double ones that we did last year, but I'm just showing you this one today. So what I've done is I've simply got, this is just a fabric roll. So with a fabric roll, it's nice and firm, so it gives you a base to start with. And guess what I am going to do? I'm getting all my scraps of, move that there, all my scraps of wadding, and I'm simply lying it out so it's the length of my roll, which is about there, and I'm just layering them out. I'll cut that piece off there because that one's too long. And, one moment please. So scraps of it, and then grab some more scraps. You're just using up all your scraps. Lay that on there, fill in that gap there. It's a great way to use up all your scraps. And you can have, we can get rid of that one. Right, so best thing out, 505 spray, finally back in the country, believe it or not. Waited for it for months during COVID. So I'm just going to go under here and I'm just going to spray these together. Spray that together. Spray that on there, and then spray this because it's going to stick to my roll. So I'm just going here like this, and I'm just going to roll this all together. Now I want this to spray to hold on to there, so I'm just going to go, here we are. The best thing about the 505 is it's not toxic like the other ones that you can buy. So roll that all together and make it nice and neat. Now I think I want a little bit more thickness here, so I'm just going to spray this and add these little bits. It's great. Use up all your bits. And to hold that. So I know you've all got bits of wadding that you can use up. Spray that, put that on as well, might as well use that up. Real patchwork, isn't it? And there's a piece there missing. There you go. And that's all I did for the centre of it. And then I'll put more in here so it's all the same thickness. So that's what I've done in the centre of this to make it nice and soft. So that's all prepared. Okay? So once you've done all of that, you don't have to worry about that. Then you cut your fabric or your wool, whatever you're using. You can use any fabric. Per the notes, the width and the length per the notes. And then we're going to start doing some embellishing on it. So how you go about doing this is you get your fabric and you decide a design. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to get my charcoal liner, and I've started doing, mucking around doing a bit of work here. So I'm just going to get my charcoal liner and I'm just going to draw a design. And this just brushes off, but it's also going to disappear because you're going to be stitching over it. So you can do a design, nice curvy design, or you can do a zigzag design, which I'm going to show you. Okay, so if you're doing a nice curvy design like that, again, there are no rules because I don't have any rules. The best way to sew on a braid or a wool or anything is to using our specialty feet that we have. So Bernina bring out quite a few feet, but today I'm going to use the 21 foot. And the 21 foot has got a nice big hole down the centre. Now this means I can thread a, whatever will fit through the hole actually. I can thread a ribbon, I can thread a wool, I can thread anything through the centre. So this is tapestry wool. and whatever can fit through the hole is what I can use. So I'm just going to thread this through, and you need to just make it as skinny enough to get through because it's wool and it will bounce back up and it will thread through. Okay, so whatever can thread through you can use. Then you go, well, that's going to look really nice on there, but I want to make a feature out of it. So I'm going to use a coloured thread. So if it was mine, I would do a complete opposite colour thread so it would show up, or even lime green. Ooh, lime green. Oh no, that one. So I'm going to put this on the top. Doesn't matter what I've got in the bottom. I will need to change my top tension and bring it down so the bobbin thread doesn't come up. So I've got ordinary thread in the bobbin. So I'm going to use the silky thread on top. I'm going to use this through my 21 and I'm going to stitch it on. That's only part of the decision you're going to make, because now you want to know what stitch you want to use. So I've got a piece of work that I've been doing over here, and I'm just going to show you what happens when you do different stitches, and then you can decide which one you like the best. So I'm going to put this bright colour on so you can see it, and this thread is cross wound, so it's going to lie with the thread coming off the back, off that way. So I'm going to lie it down here, and I'm going to put my thread spool on so it's the same diameter as that. It's going to sit nicely on there, quietly, nicely. So now, biggest thing to remember, put your foot on, and this is the biggest thing that you all need to remember. You're going to tell the machine what foot you've got on if that's what you need to do. It's foot 21, so I'm telling my machine. The next thing, I want the foot up when I thread. So you must put your foot up when you thread. Now, this is what I want you to do when you're threading your machines. I want you to hold your thread with your right hand. I want you to thread through here, through the tension. Keep holding your right hand till you've thread all around the front, all the way down to the needle. And then you know that that's nice and tight and your thread's through your tension. Then you're not going to get any problem with your machine telling you haven't threaded it right. Now I'm just going to use my needle threader. So when I use my needle threader, when I start bringing it down, it puts the foot down. I'm going to hook my thread underneath my needle threader bar. I'm going to push it down till it can't go any further. I'm going to slide my thread between the two metal pieces and let my right hand and my left hand go. And there I have my thread threaded. Okay, remember I said I was going to put my top tension down? I'm going to touch it and I'm going to bring my top tension down to about 3.25 because I've got grey thread underneath. Now if I just sew with a straight stitch, I'll get a really nice result. So I'm going to show you that first. I'll do it over, no, I'll just do it straight onto here because it really doesn't matter if I've got different stitches on here because it's just fun. Anyway, I got it straight onto this so you can see it. So I would like my top thread through to the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my needle down through my foot and pull my thread because I like to start with it underneath. There we are. Put my foot back on. Now I'm going to start off with straight sewing. So I'm lining it up with my foot, and this will just lie nice and flat for you. So now I'm going to put a long stitch length on, about a 3, and I'm just going to straight stitch the first piece, the first curve. So I'm following my line. I don't have to do anything because my foot is going to go where I turn my machine. If this wasn't a firm fabric, I would need to put tearaway behind there. Now you'll notice I've got to go around a curve, so if I need to lift my knee up and turn, lift my knee up and turn, okay? I'll just roll this up. Okay, now I can go around nicely because I've got rid of my excess fabric. So this is what it looks like when you straight stitch it. You just get a nice line through there, but it doesn't really show the colour. So I want to use a stitch that's really going to show off the colour. So I'm going to go to zigzag. Now my zigzag only wants to be wide enough to cover the wool. So I'm going to bring my zigzag down to about 3 width, and I'm just going to lengthen it out because I want to see more of my wool. So let's have a look at that. That's about perfect. So now I'm going to stitch around my next curve, and you can see what zigzag looks like. Remember, when you're going around a curve on an outside curve, stop with your needle to the left to turn. Stop with your needle to the left. One more stitch. Thank you. Turn. So that looks really cool. Zigzag always looks good. So that's curve's going to have zigzag on it. This is going to be an interesting piece, isn't it? So stop on the left hand side and turn. Now the next curve I'm going to do, I'm going to use the blanket stitch. Oh, maybe even the double overlock. I'll use the double overlock. Remember to bring everything narrow and lengthen everything out. So I'm going to bring it down to 3.1 and lengthen it out to 2.6. Now this is interesting. So because I've done that, I've realized I need to move my needle position over for it to centralize. So I'm going to push my needle position over 3 clicks, and now it should cover my work better, much better. So just be aware of that. You may need to move your needle position. That looks really cool too. Okay, I'll go around this curve and then I'll change to another stitch. If it's a soft curve like this, you don't need to stop and turn so often. You see the different stitches happening? It's quite clever. So now I'm going to do the blanket stitch. So the blanket stitch I'm going to choose is going to be the triple blanket stitch. So I may need to move my needle position, so I'll just try it. No, that's fine. So this is a triple one. It's on 3.5 and 3.5. And I'm going to be stitching very slowly to make sure that I get a really nice blanket stitch, and it's going to show off my colour of my wool. Stop with the needle to the right when you want to turn if you need to. And then turn. So you'll see, I'll just do pattern end. I'll just do single pattern so you can see where it ends. So it's going to stop at the end of a pattern. Okay, now I'm going to count it. So I'm lifting, I'm counting. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh no. I think it's 9. I'm going to try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is one stitch. So if you need to stop, that's what you need to remember. If I go, I'll do 3 or 4, it's going to stop after 4. And I don't have to think then, and I can just stop. Now I can turn. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's about right for that curve. See how you get a really nice curve by just not doing it all at once. 4 is good for that stitch. I can turn. Perfect. So you can see by using different stitches you're going to get different results. I like that. Now I'm going to go right through so I can just sew because I've got a nice straight edge. And you'll see I've got none of the bobbin colour coming up. So I don't have to worry about changing my tension on that stitch. So you can see the difference with just the different stitches, how they look so good. I'm going to try another stitch now. And it is going to be the feather stitch and see what that looks like. So this one here, and I'm going to make sure it's a little bit narrower. So it's going to stitch in the middle, then have little arms coming out both sides. Let's see what that looks like. It's quite effective. And sometimes they're quicker than doing some of the other stitches, so you choose to use that. That's quite a fun stitch. Okay, so that's what you do first off. You do the whole length of your fabric and the stitch that you like, and or you can do all your different stitches like this one's going to have on it. It'll be quite interesting, but it's also quite fun because you can use it as a practice of your different stitches. There's so many different feet you can use to do this, so I'm going to try another stitch. I actually really like the zigzag on that, but I'm going to use a different stitch. I'm going to go into this one here, and I'm going to find this little block stitch, which I really like because it's going to stitch either side and then across. So let's try that one. And I'm going to lengthen it out, and I'm going to narrow it down. So you can do that while you're sewing when you're trialing them, and I'm going to put my needle position over. Interesting. So now I've got it how I like it. It's on 2.7 wide, 4.2 length, and I've put my needle position 2 to the right, and it's stitch number 702. So you just get whatever works for you. And if you like it, write it down, or you can put it into your personal favourites to remember it. I want to stop with my needle position on the left. There before I change stitches. Oops. So yeah, that's quite a cool stitch. Right, I'll just finish this off and I'll find some nicey. Oh, I don't know what this is going to be like, but why not? I am putting the daisy stitch on to see what it looks like. No idea how this is going to go, but why not? Just go nice and slow so that it forms the stitch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go single pattern. So that does one, because I'm going to need to turn the corner. So single pattern, and just turn very gently around that curve so you get a nice finish. I don't know what this is looking like, but it could be quite fun. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't love it, but it's interesting. Now I've started it now, so I've got to do a bit more. So you can see you can sew anywhere with this one. I'll stop at that one or I'll be there forever because that one's a slow stitch. So you're best to find stitches that are a little bit quicker to do. One of my favourite stitches, no idea what this is going to look like, but I use this a lot when I'm doing probably got too much stitching on it, but it could look very effective when I'm doing handles. Oh, it's different. Yeah, I quite like it actually. So you get quite a different look depending on what you do. I do use that stitch a lot. It's number 309. Very nice stitch. It looks like it's cross stitch. Right, we'll get a faster stitch for you so you don't have to watch me finish that. Honeycomb stitch, could be good, might not be. Gee, I'll go back to zigzag first because or else it will take too long. Then I'll do the other one. Can't beat zigzag, nice and quick and easy. Stop on the right, needle on the right to turn, thank you. So that you get a nicer curve. Needle to the right to turn, nicer curve. Much nicer curve. To the right. I'm talking to the machine, you realise. Okay, now I'll do a little bit of the honeycomb and I'm going to narrow it down and lengthen it out and see what it looks like. Oh, it's quite fast, so that's all right. Oh, that's nice too. So yeah, any stitches you use are going to look great. When you go to do your corners, don't go so fast. Sharp corner, needle to the left, that's it, and turn. So you'll notice I'm using my knee control a lot. I'll finish off with that stitch. And you can see the benefit of having a thread that is a different colour, so you can really see it on your work. Now, when you use your thread cutter, make sure you push your thread cutter, you let the machine completely finish and lift the foot up before you pull your work away. Really, really important. So this foot can have anything threaded through it, whatever will work. You can even thread through a wool like this, which is really, really a feather wool, which is quite a tricky product, but you can thread it through with some pins. There we go. And there's nothing stopping you from sewing that, because your machine will just sew wherever it's going to sew, and you will get the effect of your feather wool. So when you're going to do this, what you do want to do is choose the stitch you like the look of first. So if you've done this, then choose a stitch you like a look of. I'll just do a little bit on the corner here. So what I'm going to do with this one is, I think I'm just going to use a straight stitch and just show you, and I'm going to let this go wherever it wants to go. So some of it will get flattened and some of it won't, but I can sew anywhere. Just keep this in front of you. I just go like this actually. There you go, or I put it on here, but I'll just put it here. So I'm just going to stitch some around here. Stop and turn as I go. Let it go anywhere it wants to go. Don't worry about what it's doing, just have fun with it. Gives a nice effect. Crazy, huh? So remember, scissors, and there you go. So whatever can fit through there, you're going to get the effect. Whether you use a straight stitch, you'll get a different effect. If you use a zigzag, you'll get a different effect. If you use a anything. So this is hemp, and it's a very, very, very stiff. I'm going to need my big scissors, my big guns for this. It's a very, very stiff cord really, and it will fit through that hole, but I do not want to sew through it or I will break my needle. So the only stitch I can do over this is zigzag. Okay, so I'm going to put my machine on zigzag, and this is the only stitch I can do on here, and I'm just going to quickly show you on here. So you do not want to stitch on anything that's going to break a needle. So I'm just going to pop this on here and just quickly show you. And I bought this from the Fair Trade, the Trade Aid shop. Really, really nice. And I'm just going to make, yep, my zigzag is exactly the right width to go over that. And you cannot even tell because I've used matching thread. It's a beautiful multicoloured cord. And I'm just going to stitch over it just with a zigzag or a blanket stitch, wherever I want to go. So use anything you like that fits through that cord, and you can embellish. You'll see here on this sample, I have used lots of different stitches, but I've made it into a zigzag. So instead of a curved edge, I've just zigzagged it, stopped on the point, and then carried on. So that is the number 21 foot, which is this little one here. I'll just cut that cord, very, very thick, number 21. So there's another foot that you can buy for this machine, and it's called a 12C, and you can have the hole in the top, but also it has the hole underneath, like this here. So it has the groove underneath. So it's these 2 feet joined into one. So it's a very good foot if you've got a bigger machine to buy, because it's the 21C and the 12C joined into one. Okay, so I just thought I'd show you that because it's a great time for embellishing over winter. So you can start off by starting to embellish this, and after the break I'll show you what I did next.